Good morning everyone, Grange Wallis here. Hope I've got a bit of a treat for you all today. I'm basically going to show you how I went about completing my latest Phantom cover, which should be out in a few weeks. It's for the Pirate Kingdom, and yeah, I'm pretty excited about this cover. This video is gonna cover how I go from my original digital sketch, print that out, and then trace it on my white light box here, and then bring it all together. Back again in the digital program that I use called Procreate. And yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoy how I go from this to this to this. So here we are. This is me starting my workflow. So I work traditionally after I've done an initial sketch digitally. So this is my digital sketch, which I'm using a program called Procreate in my iPad or my iPad Pro. And this is just basically the speed painting, like a better description of how quickly I just rough out the ideas and then sort of figure out how I'm actually going to draw the Phantom. I did have the idea of giving him a cape initially just for a bit of dynamics, but I decided not to do that in the end, and then just roughing out some of my ideas. So I like the idea of the Phantom swinging in to take out the last assailant after he's taken out pretty much the whole crew of the ship, and I thought it would be a cool idea to include a skull cloud to sort of bring a bit of a supernatural element to the Phantom, even though we all know he's not supernatural. And then I wasn't really happy with the Phantom's initial pose, so I decided to isolate him and then redraw that pose into the finished final pose. And then I'm sort of slowly working in where my ideas for what the lighting is. So I'm thinking two light sources, one being the moon, which will be a cool blue light, and then a warm yellow light, which will light up the Phantom, and then the points of focus of the crew member who's about to get punched by the Phantom in his ring and branded as a villain or with the mark of the bad. Now, at this point, the Phantom is the most important part of the illustration as far as I'm concerned, obviously being a Phantom comic. So I'm still working mainly on my ideas of how I want the Phantom to look, the lighting on the Phantom, because I want it to be quite dynamic. And I really have to plan this stage out as much as I can, because when I take it to my printout and then start redrawing it traditionally, I want it to all be, pretty much well worked out. So this is me putting in my lights, putting in my ideas of how I'm going to light this scene and just get the final drawing, all the extra details, drawing in the crew members that have already been rendered unconscious by the Phantom and marked with the skull ring, and and then obviously the main villain at the back. And yeah, so this is the final digital illustration that I'll keep getting printed out, and then moving it over to my kit, which is my light box and cope of paper, and then I'll start all over again, redrawing the entire cover with pencils, just to sort of prepare me for the inks. I mean, other artists can go straight into the inks, but I'm not that confident, if I'm being honest. And yeah, I just want to make sure that the illustration is the best illustration it can be. So I'm still not sure how I'm going to actually start making my markings with the ink. So at this point, I am figuring out what my texturing style will look like with the pencils, and it will give me more information on, where to take it next when I have actually worked myself up and my confidence to start working with a medium that isn't easily rubbed out. So this is me just still refining everything. I'm working quite quickly just to sort of get a feel for pen and paper. There's sometimes, because if you work digitally too much, you sometimes try and use your fingers to zoom in on a page, which we all know doesn't actually work with analog technology. So yeah, this is just me sort of getting used to drawing traditionally again. So I think that's one of the reasons why I spend a lot of time on the pencil sketch. Now this pencil sketch is coming along here now. I'm still just breaking things in, and at this point I'm feeling pretty confident to know what I'm going to do with inks. So then I'll start tackling just the Phantom. So the whole illustration will be taking it, like starting with the Phantom, refining the Phantom, and then the greater illustration around it. So I'm feeling like I know exactly how I'm just going to use like a really thin nibbed pen to get a lot of scratchy lines. I feel like it sort of adds a little bit to my overall style, but also the age of the Phantom. I think this is the 14th Phantom. So as you can tell, I like to muck up some of the tailoring details with these with the historical Phantoms. And with the historical phantoms, just quickly, I like just to change the seams and the details on like how they would have been put together back in that time. Now here I am sort of finishing off the artwork, because I have been hitting it with Copics and then going back to inks and then hitting it with Copics, and then here is the final illustration. Obviously I don't have too many extra videos of me doing the entire process, because it's pretty exhausting to do a camera setup as well when you're doing an illustration with this much detail in it. The ropes killed me. Now I'll finish with the artwork, as you could see, and now I brought it back into the iPad and Procreate, where I'll color the illustration and finish it off and get it ready for Dudley and Glenn to make the final cover, which I'm hoping to see in a couple of weeks. Now this is the final artwork. Adding some extra lighting elements that I could only do digitally. And here we go, the final artwork. I hope you enjoyed this insight into my process, how I work from digital to traditional and then back to digital. And yeah, I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I think it's a pretty strong cover. I really like the colouring, between the cool light of the moon and the warm yellow of the lantern. So there we go, Phantom punching out pirates. I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that glimpse behind the curtains of my workflow on how I actually do a comic book cover. And yeah, if you liked the video, make sure you comment, like and subscribe, and do all those social media things. Share it with your friends that it might have a bit of an interest in the Phantom or illustration as a whole. My name is Grange Wallis, so in the meantime, take care and thanks for stopping by.